2 hours that we will bring you of the news as it happens. We're monitoring a few different things for you around the area, around the country actually for that matter today, that we hope to bring you over the next 2 hours or so. The Wisconsin Live Desk here with you every Monday through Friday on Fox Local and the FOX6 Milwaukee YouTube channel as well. We'll do a quick whip around of a couple of the feeds and cameras that we're tracking right now. First and foremost, what a difference a day makes as we give you a live look at downtown Milwaukee. The sun shining, just a few clouds in the sky. Of course, yesterday, you're seeing the warm temperatures, 81 degrees still out there. Yesterday, we had these severe storms that swept through much of Wisconsin, certainly here in the southeastern part of the state. We had heavy rain, winds, even hail here in Milwaukee, and then even bigger hail if you get out to some other parts of our viewing area. I'm going to pop up a few of the different images that we have for you here. This was from Ashippun, from Bryce. Look at that. So what would that measure? About 2 inches or so across that ball of hail right there. 2.5 perhaps. Some of the other hail that we saw, this came to us from Heidi in Eau Claire, so western part of the state, what they got first and foremost. And with great perspective here, Mary in Wales sharing some coin-size hail, whether it's a dollar coin there, whether it's a quarter or a nickel on the right. Or is that the 50 cent? I can't remember what the one on the left is there, if it's a dollar coin or a 50 cent. I'm sure someone can tell me. A little more traditional coins here, a couple of quarters in Ixonia from Christy W. And a thank you to the viewers that sent us all of those images. We are going to get a look at the damage that's been left behind over the course of the next 2 hours, because that is really the story today. It is the damage and the cleanup, still with some more thunderstorms possible this afternoon here in Wisconsin, though nothing like what so many people lived through yesterday. The National Weather Service is actually in Mayville in Dodge County today, surveying some of the damage throughout the county. Likely will be a confirmed report of a tornado as they continue their surveying work there. And we're going to hopefully bring you a live report from the Mayville area and some of the other issues. How about this for the folks out there in Dodge County? It's actually supposed to be graduation weekend for the high school seniors at Mayville High. Their school, as of today, where there was supposed to be AP testing, there was supposed to be as well a rehearsal for graduation. Well, their school is now on a temporary Red Cross shelter for people out of a home or perhaps without power that need a place to go. So graduation still temporarily is on for Sunday. That's when it's planned in Mayville. We'll see if anything changes. And again, hoping to bring you a live report from that over the next 2 hours here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. How about a bit of a gloomy image from the Big Apple? This is the Empire State Building in New York City. As you can see, they are now dealing with weather out east after we got our fair share yesterday. It kind of has a little bit of the Independence Day vibes, right? You think that alien ship is just sitting right above the tower about to blast it to smithereens, like one of my favorite movies, you can tell from the reference there, but hopefully that does not happen in New York City or anywhere else. Another part of New York City right now, we also have cameras outside of the Sean Diddy Combs trial, where testimony continues now, I believe, into its 4th day with Combs' former girlfriend, the R&B singer Cassie Ventura, has been on the stand for days now detailing some of their relationships, details of these so-called freak-offs, these sex parties, kind of a swinger lifestyle that she and Combs lived for so many years, and she, according to prosecutors, was kind of brought into and coerced into by the rap mogul. The defense, meanwhile, has been arguing over the last few days that Cassie was, in fact, instead kind of a willing participant in all of this. So this testimony has continued. The judge wants Cassie's testimony specifically to wrap up by the weekend, for her not to have to wait through the weekend and then come back on the stand next week, as this has been days and days of, at first, the questioning from the prosecutors. She was a prosecution witness, and now the cross-examination of this star witness by the defense attorneys representing Sean Combs. Some of the concessions that she has made under cross-examination, she has accused Diddy of that he raped her on previous occasions, while the defense attorney for Sean Combs is trying to discredit that claim by Cassie on the witness stand and some of the cross-examination now. And I believe they're actually in a lunch break right now until, excuse me, 1:10 East Coast time. So they'll be getting back to that moment. Actually, just, I think, resumed testimony after that lunch break. Cassie has acknowledged consensual sex as part of their relationship, and there's been a series of text messages and email exchanges read in court between Combs and Cassie as well, including her telling Combs in those messages, "I do love you. I would just prefer not being one of your girlfriends anymore." She wanted to be the only one. Some of these trial and testimony continues in New York today, while we are also keeping an eye on things in another part of the East Coast. Let me pop something else up for you here right now. You're seeing these microphones all set up here. This is going to be a trial related to the Maryland man who's actually from El Salvador and was wrongfully deported to El Salvador, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who is still not returned to the United States despite a judge's order to try to make that happen. This is a press conference that we will try to bring for you as well. There's a hearing today on this, and this is kind of like the stakeout stand of microphones that we have for you here coming from this hearing for Kilmar Abrego Garcia's latest motion hearing today. If that happens, if we get some of the attorneys or representatives stepping to the podium, we will certainly carry that for you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. And another live look outside. Wanted to show you kind of a little bit of a view of what we have for you today here in Wisconsin. Milwaukee looking good on this Friday afternoon. A lot of people getting ready for the weekend, perhaps hoping to start an early weekend here. And another shot of downtown. How about from our downtown camera, the roof open at American Family Field. The Brewers are back in town tonight, and it's actually a huge weekend of giveaways for the crew. So tonight is a Star Wars themed night. If you have a special ticket package with the crew, you can get a Jackson Churio themed Jedi bobblehead. Jedi Jackson, they're calling it, with the star young phenom for the crew sporting a lightsaber as opposed to his typical bat there. And then tomorrow, the much talked about cribbage board, racing sausage cribbage board that the Brewers kind of broke the internet with when they announced their whole lineup of season giveaways. That was a well sought after one here in the Midwest, certainly a hotbed of cribbage in Wisconsin, and appropriately they're hosting the Twins this weekend. So tomorrow night, Minnesota versus the Milwaukee Brewers at American Family Field. The first 25,000 fans or so will get that racing sausage cribbage board, and we are expecting a packed house and some long lines, people getting there early to make sure they are in fact one of the 25,000 or so. You know what else just popped up? When this happens, you certainly get to it as quick as you can. The President of the United States speaking right now. I believe this is on board Air Force One as he makes his return to the United States after this Mideast trip this week. Let's listen to questioning with the president right now.
Into the country as refugees, when you've closed off that door to a lot of other refugees from other parts of the world, what message does that send to those who say it isn't? Why is that fair?
Well, I think if I see people in distress, I don't care what color, what they look like, what anything, their size, their height, their eyes, I don't care. But I think that from all evidence, the farmers in South Africa are being treated brutally, and it's been reported and nobody wants to cover it, but they happen to be white, and if they were black, I'd do the exact same thing. And we treat people very well when we see there's a genocide going on. So if it's a genocide, that's terrible, and I happen to believe it could very well be. South Africa's out of control, and it's been out of control for a long time, and the media doesn't report it. And I'm not looking for reporting, because, believe me, it's easier for me not to do anything. It's a lot easier because I don't get nasty questions like that. But the fact is that we're about saving lives, and we're going to do that. So we've made a home, and we'll make a home for other people that are treated badly, no matter what their color.
Will you go to the G20? Will you go to the G20 there?
I'm not sure.
Not sure.
I'm really not sure.
On Iran, has the U.S. given them a formal proposal? Has Steve Witkoff handed that over?
Yeah, they have a proposal, but more importantly, they know they have to move quickly. something bad's going to happen. Thank you very
How's
much.
Tiffany doing? She's well.
Good.
Everybody's good at home.
Congratulations on your grandson.
Thank you very much.
Travel safe, sir.
All right, so that was actually a replay, I should say, of a question and answer that the president did with media members on board of Air Force One as they were taking off from the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, earlier today. The president is on his return flight. We just got an update, actually, just moments ago, 1:20 Eastern time, so that would be just about 10-20 minutes ago. Here in Central Time, Air Force One landed at a Royal Air Force Base in Mildenhall to refuel as the president, excuse me, let me bring down that annoying noise for you. The president is on his way back to the United States after this week-long trip, 4-day trip through some of the Middle Eastern countries there, starting in Saudi Arabia, also going to Qatar, and ending in the United Arab Emirates. Now, one place he did not end up going on this trip was Turkey. There were questions about that earlier in the week, whether or not the president would make a detour on this trip while he was in the Middle East and join some of the peace talks between Ukrainian and Russian leaders when it comes to the war in Ukraine sparked by Russia's invasion. There was a question even at some point whether both of the leaders of those respective nations, Volodymyr Zelensky from Ukraine and Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, would make it to Turkey. It became clear that President Putin would not make that trip, and as a result, Zelensky did not either, and President Trump did not go as well. There's a little bit of news out of that meeting today, and let me pull that up for you. Peace talks that lasted less than 2 hours between different officials from Russia and Ukraine, so not exactly the most lengthy or involved discussions. There was an agreement to exchange 1,000 prisoners of war from each side. So that's actually the largest such swap Kyiv and Moscow have agreed to since the war began 3 years ago. But besides that, not much in the way of substantial talks, and certainly not a ceasefire like the Ukrainian President Zelensky hoped to get out of these peace talks this week. Remains to be seen what else will come of that, but at the very least, there's going to be a prisoner exchange between Ukraine and Russia, 1,000 prisoners of war each, swapping and getting back to their respective home countries after that agreement today. All right, we're going to take a short break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. It's 12:42. We'll see what we find for you on the other side of this break.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
happy Friday, everyone. We have made it to the end of the work week for many out here. As I'm Carl Deffenbaugh, joining you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We're here each and every afternoon, 12:30 to 2:30 on Fox Local and the FOX6 News Milwaukee YouTube channel. So thanks a lot for checking it out. Some days it's jam-packed. We're bringing you things and popping all over the place as we try to get you the news as it's happening, the most important stories of the day. Some days it's a little bit slower, but that's all right. And especially given what so many people went through yesterday, that's a good problem to have today after the severe weather that swept through, including a possible tornado in Dodge County. The National Weather Service is out and about today. We want to show you some of the damage from other parts of our area, though, here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, because we're getting these pictures now from our crew down in Racine. This is an example of just how much damage there is all across southeastern Wisconsin, not just highlighted in Dodge County, kind of the worst of it with that possible tornado that the National Weather Service is looking into today, but some of the other areas. And I'll flip through a few of the pictures our crew's Ashley Sears and her photojournalist have sent back from Racine, showing some of the different damage. Look at that, a wall just kind of torn down in another part, and you see in the background there the trees that are down as well. And perhaps one of the hardest hit areas, this is going to be certainly a part of Ashley's story today. The Racine Zoo is closed because of the cleanup they say needs to happen in the zoo's property today because of damage like this. Another massive tree limb down there. They are closed. The campus apparently just kind of littered with these broken limbs after the storms, and officials wanted to make sure that the zoo's animals are safe, that they can clean up and get things ready to go before they welcome guests back, hopefully over the weekend if they can get things done. And actually they're asking for help from the public as well, saying, hey, if you're a volunteer, if you got some time today, you're in the area and you want to help out, by all means, you can go down there until about 4 p.m. this afternoon. So plenty of time here, about 3 hours to go if you want to help out the Racine Zoo get things back on track. Here's another photo that Ashley and her photojournalist sent back, just showing you, yeah, that top of the tree basically just like knocked off after some of the storms and heavy wind that came through the area. So much of southeastern Wisconsin dealing with this today, the cleanup, and then there is still the chance for thunderstorms this afternoon in different parts of our viewing area as well. So we'll see what's in store. The good news, it's not supposed to be anything like what we experienced last night, a possible tornado in parts of southeastern Wisconsin, and then as you're seeing here from Racine, bad damage when it comes to wind and trees down. Power outage, actually, let me pop this up for you. I'll do this on the fly if we can, because We Energies has such a good interactive outage map for you right here. Let me pull it up, because at one point earlier this morning there was more than 11,000 people still without power. Right now, just watching this for you on the We Energies outage map, 5,600 customers are without power. They're dealing with about 200 outages still at this hour. Of course, the crews are out working hard. Some of the counties that had the worst of it this morning were Milwaukee and Racine counties. We just showed you some of the damage from the zoo there. Right now, about 1,800 customers in Milwaukee County are still without power, and close to 3,000 in Racine also still without power at this hour. So that number's come down over the course of the morning, but still a significant amount, almost 3,000 customers, 2,916 to be exact, still without power in Racine County. The good news, at least in Dodge County, I don't know how big a presence We Energies has there, but it's only 26 customers without power. So for all the damage that we're seeing, and there's a lot, and there's a lot of work in the days and weeks to come as Dodge County tries to recover from that, what will likely be a tornado. We'll find out the strength and whether that is in fact confirmed from the National Weather Service. But at least for now, it seems like power has come back on for many people, and that's good news as they try to start picking up and getting their lives back in order. Here's another shot from the Racine Zoo as we'll cycle through a few of those pictures for you, and then from outside in the city of Racine, you can see the crews there. So that's the good news, trying to get that power back on track. You see the bucket trucks and those lifts high in the air dealing with the power lines and the towers and poles there, but still in Racine, close to 3,000 people without power at this time. How about we give you a check of the stock market? It is a Friday afternoon. The market's getting ready for the weekend here as I pop this up for you right now. Ta-da! Nope, that is outside of the Diddy trial. My bad. There we go. Across the board, the Dow Jones Industrial up about half a percentage point on the day, 229 points and fluctuating a little bit, but good to see it in the green. There is a notable, actually, result that we'll see how this impacts the markets, maybe getting into next week, but a bit of a hit for Republican leaders in Congress, and specifically for Republican President Donald Trump on his way back from that Middle Eastern tour. Some conservatives joined in voting with all of the Democrats in the House to not pass the Republican package of tax breaks and spending cuts, the so-called, let me get the name for it here, One Big Beautiful Bill Act. That's actually the name of the budget they're trying to pass right now. An homage to what President Trump has called this big beautiful bill is now officially the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. But that failed in the House today in committee. It did not get through the Budget Committee in a vote 21-16. So all of the Democrats voted against this, and a handful of hard-right lawmakers also joined with Democrats to make this bill not pass, at least at this point. Now, Democrats don't like the bill for other reasons. The hard-right lawmakers on the way other end of the political spectrum, they actually want to see steeper spending cuts to Medicaid. Democrats are trying to save Medicaid, while those hard-right Republicans actually want more cuts to Medicaid in that spending bill, as well as some of those Biden-era green energy tax breaks taken away. They say that even this big, beautiful bill from the president is going to pile on to the nation's $1 trillion in debt, $36 trillion right now, and warning the tax cuts alone in that bill are going to pile on to the debt. So they want to see steeper cuts, actually. It's a weird pairing. Democrats want fewer cuts. The hard-right Republicans want steeper cuts, but neither of them are getting what they want. So voting against the bill, that did not make it through the House Budget Committee today. So House Speaker Mike Johnson has some work to do on those Republican holdouts. Same with the president, who will be back in Washington, returning right now on Air Force One from that tour, the first foreign tour, big foreign tour of his second term in office through the Middle East there. One of the Republicans, Representative Chip Roy of Texas, says, quote, "Something needs to change or you're not going to get my support." Now, those conservatives also say they will stay in D.C. through the weekend if they have to try to work out the differences here and work to something that they can agree on. But we'll see. That's a rare setback for the president and for House leaders in the Republican Party not getting the entire caucus on their side, and instead that possible budget bill does not make it out of the Budget Committee in the House. We're going to take another break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Our weather expert, Stephanie Barkello, standing by. Of course, the fallout from yesterday's storms and that tornado we're still waiting to get confirmed out in Dodge County. And then what's still coming today. Not nearly as bad, but still something you definitely want to know about heading into the rest of your Friday afternoon and evening. That's up next on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, welcome back. It's the Wisconsin Live Desk as we're just 5 minutes away from 1 o'clock here on your Friday afternoon here in the Central Time Zone. The story of the day here in the state of Wisconsin truly is the impact of the storms that we got later last evening into about the 8 o'clock hour or so, and then the fallout this morning, although there is still more to come. And to that end, I want to bring in my friend Stephanie Barkello, standing by there back in the weather office. Steph, great to have you back with us as I get your microphone up, because that is important to be able to hear what our weather expert is talking about. Let me just start with this. I know it was such a wild evening for you and the rest of your team back there in the weather office. Take me through it. We knew this was kind of the expectation. You guys were tracking this for much of the week, kind of targeting that Thursday afternoon and evening.
Yeah.
Did things play out mostly as expected?
They did, honestly.
Okay.
We had the consistency, and I think I may have mentioned it yesterday, just how fascinating it was to see the consistency, not the Dow, the consistency.
Yeah, my bad. Not much consistency in the stock market, actually.
Absolutely not. No, but it did. Timing was pretty much spot on. We started to see those storms developing, around this time out in Minnesota, but then we started to see them forming in southwestern Wisconsin, closer to 2, 3 o'clock. I believe we saw our first warning just after 5 o'clock in our far western communities. And then from there, we saw more development. It started up in our northern communities, then filled in towards the south. We saw plenty more in northern Illinois that, passed through some of our southern communities. So yeah, our computer models that guide us in forecasting did really, really well with this. And we knew that there were some higher end threats. We had all of the, ingredients we needed for some of these really strong thunderstorms. And we certainly saw the hail, the large hail. Remember, at this time yesterday, we were talking about how we could see it potentially over 2 inches. And we saw that. We even saw some hailstones in spots, Carl, close to 2.5 inches, which is the size of a baseball.
I think I have some of those pictures, actually, Steph. Let me pop them up for you if we can. I know you've been talking about these throughout the morning. This was one of the bigger ones, I believe. You did get one in reference to a baseball, but this was one of the other, pretty large size hail there.
Yeah, and it wasn't just one stone. There were a few. We have pictures of people whose hands are full of large hailstones. Look at that one. Also, just the formation of these. Some of them are spiky. Those ones are a little scary, right? Don't want to.
Yeah, that one's got some teeth to it.
Exactly. So that can absolutely do some damage. And yes, Ixonia, that is definitely one of the spots that we saw a lot of hail reports. But, in addition to hail, Carl, just all of the wind damage too. Of course, the tornado damage within Dodge County, but then widespread large hail as you cycle through more of these pictures. Everybody saw them. I saw pictures from Oak Creek. I saw pictures from down in Kenosha. And then there was the straight line wind damage, and we're starting to get more information on potentially how strong some of that wind was as it rolled through. I've seen reports over 60 miles per hour from Milwaukee down to Kenosha. Yeah. And again, that's as that line moved through. And then a report of over 70 miles per hour out ahead of that tornado warned cell out in Dodge County.
Let me ask you specifically, you mentioned Kenosha, kind of the Racine area we were showing some pictures of, and I have some of that. I'll pop up here momentarily. We're going to get a report hopefully pretty soon from Dodge County where kind of the worst of it was, that possible tornado that the National Weather Service is looking into. But as you said, this was a really widespread event. So I'm going to get some of the pictures from Racine that our Ashley Sears has sent in, some of the damage there, and then this one is specifically from the Racine Zoo kind of shows what they're dealing with down there. They're actually asking for volunteers to come and help with the cleanup today as they had to close today to try to get things back up. But in Racine, in that part of the state, was that more of those straight line winds, less so than what turned out to be a possible tornado in Dodge County, those circular ones?
Yeah, I do think most of our southern lakeshore communities, even up into Milwaukee and Ozaukee County, I think most of that was straight line wind. It's hard to tell. We'll have to go back and really analyze our velocity scans, because it is worth mentioning within these lines of storms you could still see really brief spin up tornadoes. They may not even fully touch the ground, or if they do, they could go back up, and everything was rain wrapped. Most of the images I've seen do look to be more straight lined wind. You know, when we're looking at straight line wind damage, a lot of you know, snapped trees, or like the power lines that we saw that were kind of snapped in half. If you could imagine a line kind of just blowing through from west to east, everything's going to just tip over. Whereas if there was rotation, we would see mangled, you know, pieces of branches all over the place. It wouldn't just be tipped over. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. You're so good at explaining this too. We were actually chatting this morning during some of our other newscasts about hail itself. I thought before we get to what's coming this afternoon, because I still know there's some things that you're monitoring and slightly worried about as well, but let's have some fun with the science here. I'll pop those hail pictures back up for us, because you were kind of describing to me how hail actually forms. You know, we think of how hot it was and those kind of really warm temperatures behind you there as well right now that we had yesterday, we have again today. So how do you end up with ice when the temperatures are that warm and that hot outside?
Great question. Well, remember, the higher up you go in our atmosphere, the temperatures are much, much colder. And yesterday in particular, and same with today, which is why I do still think we could see hail today, the freezing line is actually a little lower. So these hailstones in general did not have to go too far to continue to freeze. But that's only one component. You also need that strong updraft. So within any thunderstorm, we have wind going up. And so that pulls, if it's strong enough, all of these raindrops high into that freezing level, and then you see it, you know, one raindrop freezing and then combining with another one that freezes, and that's how they get bigger and bigger, and sometimes have these really, you know, weird formations. You know, we mentioned the spikes. You can even see a few on this one. They're not always, you know, perfectly circular. And then sometimes too, if you look, and I know we've got pictures somewhere from viewers yesterday, you can actually see, you know, where the hailstone grew. It almost looks like there are lines. You know how when you cut down a tree, you can see the lines? Yeah. At the stump. A hailstone is somewhat the same way. I mean, major differences, but you can tell that it was another layer and another layer, almost like that ice accretion. It's really fascinating.
Yeah.
But yeah, it goes to show just how strong the storms in general were, because they were able to be pushed up and still become heavy enough to stay up in those clouds and grow instead of just falling right away.
That's wild to think about. Okay, you mentioned the possibility we might not be through all of it, though it's certainly nothing to the same degree as last night and yesterday evening. So what's still coming today? And then we'll let you get back to your regular duties there.
This was fun, Carl.
Yeah,
I love
it. It's great.
Yes, so we're just fine right now. I do want to point out, number one, temperatures and the wind, because for now, through the next couple of hours, it's still going to be quiet, but it's very windy. And look at some of the heat that we have right now. The difference from yesterday, we don't have the humidity, and I do think that lower moisture in the area will keep storms from being as strong as yesterday. But once again, we do still have the chance for maybe a stray strong or severe thunderstorms this afternoon. The wind is howling. You can hear it inside a building. I can guarantee that, because I can hear it here at the station. We've got gusts over 30 miles per hour, even over 40 miles per hour. And these are non-thunderstorm wind gusts, as we know. It's sunny outside. So it is going to stay pretty windy throughout the remainder of the day today. And we could see some even stronger gusts when we start to see those thunderstorms forming. So right now, we're okay. We do have a little bit of rain, that's it. A cluster of some late rain across southwestern Wisconsin, and that's quickly pushing up towards the northwest. I think behind this, we'll start to see some of those thunderstorms popping. So once we get closer to that 3 o'clock hour, that's when we'll likely start to see a little bit of development here locally. And it's worth mentioning too that the moisture and the system, you know, it's still out towards the west. We had the frontal boundaries yesterday, but the area of low pressure itself is up towards the northwest still. So that's the reason why we still have the chance for some storms later this afternoon. Overnight tonight, a few sprinkles, and then we'll finally dry things out. Again, the bigger picture, there's a lot going on right now, but that low pressure system, again, still needs to fully pass through our area. And just really quickly, yesterday, remember, we were in that level 3 enhanced risk. There was a much greater threat for severe weather yesterday. Today, we're in that level 1, but I don't want to dismiss that completely, because we still have that lower freezing line in those higher levels. So we do still have the chance for a little bit more hail today if those storms can strengthen enough, and then potentially 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. I think they'll be more isolated, more scattered, but once again, it's not out of the question. I know it's Friday evening, Carl. Everyone probably wants to get out to a beer garden, especially seeing the beautiful weather we have out right now, just know we could see a change 3 to about 8 o'clock.
Okay.
And then past that, we're fine through the rest of the week.
Kind of a similar window to what we had yesterday.
Right.
I'm very curious. It's garbage day for me, where my bins will be when I get home later on today. That
Yes.
was an issue both during the storm, after, maybe today as well, but far less important than what a lot of people had to deal with after that,
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely.
All right, Steph, thank you so much. Always love the science lessons with Stephanie Barkello back there in the weather office. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Carl.
All right, as we let Stephanie get back to her normal duties as one of our weather experts, good reminder, they are always here for you here on Fox Local. You can also download the FOX6 Storm Center app. They give you targeted alerts when it comes to severe weather to your actual location. That can be life-saving or at least damage avoiding in many, many cases, certainly as it was. The good news coming out of yesterday, no real major injuries to tell you about, certainly no deaths either, despite how crazy and wild it was for that period of time yesterday evening. All right, a short break coming again here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. On the other side, we'll get to some of the other big stories, including the fallout from another thing that happened just before those storms came through yesterday in downtown Milwaukee. We'll get a check on that after this.
There's
Okay.
an issue about metal detectors, and there's also the history in 1992.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, Carl Deffenbaugh here with you on the Wisconsin Live Desk as we roll right along on this Friday afternoon. We've dealt with one of the big stories in the state of Wisconsin. That's the cleanup efforts after all of that severe weather, and still some more possible thunderstorms on the way today, something all of us kind of went through and could go through today. The other thing that happened yesterday in Milwaukee that's quite interesting, although it thankfully turned out not to be as bad as some people initially feared, was a call for possible gunshots at the Zeidler building downtown. City Hall and the Zeidler building were locked down for a period of time because of this, and I want to get right to our reporter on the scene for us, Jason Calvi, hanging out with us outside of that Zeidler building. Jason, let me make sure I get your microphone up for us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. But first and foremost, Jason, can you kind of take us through, if people were not aware of this yesterday, it was kind of interesting timing because so many of us were preparing for that severe weather, and then this breaking news situation happens. All these law enforcement vehicles end up in downtown Milwaukee, right around City Hall. Take it away. What happened, and what are you kind of following up on today?
Yeah, it was 3:35, I think, when we actually broke the news on Twitter that the two buildings here were on lockdown. What are we dealing with? We're dealing with City Hall. So this is City Hall right here. This is where the mayor has his offices. Common council members have their offices. You pay your tax bill inside of that building. City Hall, and then right across the way is the Zeigler Municipal Building. You have other city departments here, like the Health Department and other departments here in Milwaukee that have their offices here. Both of these buildings yesterday, Carl, were on lockdown. There was a report, there was a call in to the Milwaukee Police Department that there were gunshots inside of this building. Now that was not the case, but 10 people, in fact, heard what sounded to them, they were convinced that they had heard a gunshot inside of this building. MPD rushed over to the scene and they went into the Zeigler Municipal Building and tried to figure out what happened. There was no evidence. They found absolutely no evidence that a gunshot that anybody had fired a gun inside of this building. There was no shell casings, no evidence of any bullets inside of the Zeigler Municipal Building. So what happened now, as we're putting the pieces together, it sounds like there was an employee who the city fired and at some point may have made loud noises in a stairwell. Don't know what those loud noises were, don't know what happened, but potentially some loud noises in a stairwell. Not a gun. MPD says not a gun. They're still investigating exactly what happened, but there's a lot of questions today. This was a false alarm. Again, no gunshots inside the municipal building yesterday, but still a lot of questions about the alert process, the communications, and all of that, as we had this false alarm, and some people are saying the city failed the test.
That's interesting to hear, too. So, yes, good that it was a false alarm, right? But it's also a little bit of a test. So what are you hearing from people today about what didn't happen in those moments after this possible report went out yesterday and what they want to see changed?
Yeah, Ashley and I were here yesterday as police were filling this area, as they were rushing in or going into Zeigler Building. They were escorting people out as well. And one of the things that we heard, what Ashley heard from several of the people that were inside this building, was they didn't hear any PA announcements telling them to shelter in place. As we reported, the first section reported that there was a shelter in place, a lockdown inside these two buildings yesterday. That announcement was not over the PA until several minutes. Even one alderman suggested maybe 10, 20 minutes before he saw the police arriving. And then he said there was a long delay. He said potentially 10, 15, 20 minutes before they actually started making announcements on the PA inside City Hall, which is right here. Then some of the people Ashley talked to in the Zeigler Building said they didn't hear those PA announcements at all, that they were supposed to shelter in place. Again, false alarm yesterday, but it was a test because these people didn't get the announcement right away that they needed a shelter in place. There was a lockdown in place.
That is certainly not what you want to hear, and especially in a case where seconds, minutes matter most in some of these far more serious incidents that we've seen in other cities, other parts of the country recently. The Zeigler Building has some history as well, Jason. I know you've been covering some of this and making yourself familiar. Tell us about that if people don't remember.
Yeah, so interesting enough, this is not the first time there's been worries about something happening in the Zeigler Building. Actually, if you take a look right here, if we pan down here, 1992, Camille Bailey died inside. She was shot and killed inside the Zeigler Building. This building that had the false alarm yesterday, 1992, Camille Bailey died inside of that building. So definitely not unprecedented to have a threat here in Milwaukee. But definitely on the minds of people is what happened in 92. Now there's questions about metal detectors. So let me just give you an example. If you go into City Hall, there are 3 main public entrances to get into City Hall. There's actually an underground path that connects the Zeigler Building to the City Hall, so you can actually take the basement level, and there's actually a coffee shop down there now, so you can enjoy a coffee shop in the basement that connects to Zeigler and City Hall. But one of the things that we're hearing from people, and again, Zeigler Building the same way, is that if we go into the building, look at this, Carl. This is it. There's no metal detectors. So one alderman today is suggesting that he wants to see metal detectors put in at City Hall. Is that going to happen? It's going to be very expensive. And I did hear some pushback from Alderman Bob Bauman, who said he doesn't want to see metal detectors installed because he said City Hall is the people's house. And he wants people to be free to come in there to pay their tax bill, to go to a committee and testify about bills and ordinances that are proposed in city government. He wants people to be able to freely go into the people's house. He says, you know, when you go to the courthouse, for example, you go to the Milwaukee County Courthouse, you do have to go through that extensive security. It's like an airport. You take your shoes off, you take your belts off, they go through your bags. If you have cables in your bags, they make you take them out. They look at it. They even make you open up your water bottle over the courthouse. He says he doesn't want to see that. That's Alderman Bauman does not want to see those metal detectors. Alderman Lamont Westmoreland, different now. He says because of this false alarm yesterday, he says it really raises a lot of questions about security. He does want to see research done. He really says that it's time now for metal detectors inside City Hall.
Interesting to hear the debates back and forth, and yeah, the issue of availability, accessibility versus security as well, certainly ongoing there in downtown Milwaukee. Also helps to be the political reporter because you know all the coffee shops downtown around the different buildings that you have to report from over the course of some of your long days there, Jason. Let me ask you this, because to get back to the crux of this, what started things yesterday, it's not like it was just one person heard something or, you know, a prank or a false alarm type thing. You said 10 different people thought they heard a gunshot very clearly. So then it begs the question, what exactly was it? What exactly happened to this person let go by the city? What's kind of the timeline for when we expect to learn more about that person of interest and what may have actually happened? Thankfully, not a gunshot inside.
Right, so I can tell you that we talked with the Common Council President, Jose Perez, across at City Hall today, and he says he's going to be introducing a communication file. What is a communication file? I know it's kind of a jargon, but what it is they open that up and then it allows them to sort of question and interview city leaders about a particular topic. So, you know, they're going to open up this communication file asking for details about exactly what happened here. They're going to look at the security issues. One of those security issues we talked about that I didn't tell you about yet, Carl, was they're the PA. We told you about the PA, right? So it took 10 minutes or so or 10 or 20 minutes, depending on who you talk to, before the first PA announcement went in that said, hey, lock in place. Another thing that didn't happen yesterday, this did not happen, which is supposed to, is city workers can sign up for a text alert. If there's an emergency, they would get a text alert alerting them, hey, there's a situation at the Zeidler building, please you're on lockdown, shelter in place. Those text messages, those alert systems that the city has the ability to send out to their workers if people sign up, it's a voluntary sign up, those messages did not go out yesterday, Carl. So that is a big question mark for communication in the midst of an emergency. Again, false alarm, but this was a test, and we asked the mayor about that. We'll bring you his answers, but pretty much he says, yes, there were some communication issues that need to be fixed here today.
Interesting. And again, can't emphasize that enough. Very happy it was a false alarm, but when it comes to the possible test, sounds like maybe a number of systems failed that test yesterday, and there's a chance for kind of a learning environment, lessons learned from that playing out yesterday. All right, Jason, we'll let you get back to it. I know you got to talk to a lot of people building these reports out for us on Fox Local and here at Fox 6 throughout the day. Always appreciate your time on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Thanks, my man.
Thanks, Carl.
As Jason gets back to that work, a reminder, this is Fox Local. You can find Jason's reporting on our newscast later this evening, and then the actual story reports themselves after the fact also posted on this streaming app. You can also find it if you're watching on the Fox 6 News Milwaukee YouTube channel. You can go to our website, fox6now.com. A lot of ways as we kind of catch our reporters in the middle of their workday often here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. But if you want to see the full report after they've pieced together the different interviews and the different issues at play, although Jason did a great job breaking it all down for us there, you can always look for that later on Fox Local. All right, we have to take one last break for you here on this first hour of the Wisconsin Live Desk, because of course we keep you rolling all the way through 2:30 now, each and every Monday through Friday here. On the other side, we're tracking an issue that has now made its way to a courtroom for a former Milwaukee Public School Board member. We'll detail some of that as we're expecting that woman back in court today on campaign finance violations and forgery. We will check in with that on the other side of this break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk, rolling right along. 121, 83 degrees. Man, it is hot outside as well. I can say the air conditioning working quite nicely inside of our studios here. You're seeing the different feeds behind me there. We can bring you the news from around the world as it's happening. We're checking in on a couple different things. Hope to bring you here over the last 9 minutes or so. I'm with you before we switch the baton over and do the handoff to Ben Handelman for your second hour. One thing that was supposed to start already, but we'll pop it up for you because we are anticipating this, and I think it'll definitely be something you're interested in seeing and hearing. This is the latest court appearance for a former Milwaukee Public School Board member, now on the other side of the law here. Aisha Carr is charged with campaign finance violations and forgery. Now, prosecutors in this case say that Carr falsely reported that her campaign had a treasurer when in fact they did not. Prosecutors also say that Aisha Carr inaccurately reported campaign finance reports and actually spent campaign funds on personal expenses instead of on that actual campaign. Now, those charges came after she was also accused of living outside of the district that she was elected to represent. Again, was supposed to be a member of the Milwaukee Public School Board, elected to serve that district, but apparently she did not live in that district and instead collected pay for that position. She was later charged with food stamp fraud as well, as she's facing a trial in a number of different cases. The misconduct in office case, though, the defense attorney has alleged prosecutors singled her out because of her race. That has been the response from Carr's side of things. At a preliminary hearing back in last August, Carr's defense attorney at the time, Dan Adams, probed a DA investigator for the origins of the state case against Carr. They tried to get this thrown out. Instead, Aisha Carr is expected in court today. Hasn't happened quite yet, but we hope to take you there for it live when this happens. Again, the former member of the Milwaukee Public School Board expected in court over campaign finance violations and forgery, saying that she falsely reported her campaign had a treasurer, also inaccurately reported some campaign finance statements, and used some of those campaign funds on personal expenses. That is what prosecutors say Aisha Carr did. There you see Attorney Dan Adams walking by there. That is the defense attorney for Aisha Carr. Let me listen in real quick. Let's see if anything has popped up here audio-wise from that courtroom, if we get a sense of just how soon this could happen. Does not seem to be the case quite yet, as the attorneys and different legal personnel there getting their documents in order before this most recent appearance from that former Milwaukee Public School Board member. When that happens, we will bring that to you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, try to catch it for you as she makes that appearance in court. Now, one of the other things I mentioned earlier, but I want to pop this up for you again, is the failure of the Republican-backed budget bill in Congress today. As we give you a live look at Capitol Hill on this Friday afternoon, a huge setback for House Republicans who failed to get a package of tax breaks and spending cuts through the Budget Committee, not even to the full House today, but through the Budget Committee, as a handful of conservatives actually joined with all of the Democrats on this committee in a vote against the bill. A bit of a stunning result there, as the bill failed. 21-16 was the vote in that House Budget Committee today. On the Democratic side, they are angry at spending cuts to Medicaid and some of the other things involved in this budget bill, while on the exact opposite side of the political spectrum, and what's at stake here, a few hard-right conservative lawmakers on that committee actually want steeper spending cuts to Medicaid and some of the green energy tax breaks from the President Biden era to be taken out and addressed in that bill. President Trump has been pushing for this, and off of the name that he kind of loosely gave it, it is now known as officially the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. But that One Big Beautiful Bill had an ugly day in the Budget Committee today in the U.S. House, as it did not get through. All right, let's get you back to that courtroom. It appears some of the proceedings are about to start for Aisha Carr, her most recent appearance in court on a series of campaign finance charges. Let's see what we get here as folks seem to be getting together for this more recent appearance. And we'll keep tracking things for you because it hasn't changed yet, but that seems to be what is coming. You know what? One of the other things that we can show you momentarily while we have some time here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, let me pop this up for you in the monitor right now. This is, as you're seeing, the Fresno County Sheriff. We're expecting a briefing from the Fresno County Sheriff in California. Why, you might ask? Well, there's a missing camper miraculously found alive right now. That was after disappearing for weeks in the California wilderness. Tiffany Slayton was discovered alive and well. Pretty remarkable chain of events here for you as I get some more information for you right now from this case. She's a camper from Georgia, but she was in California, miraculously found alive recently, I should say, and that's going to be an update, as you're seeing there, from the Fresno County Sheriff in California right now. Now, let me get you back to this courtroom where it appears that is the attorney for Aisha Carr, ready to make some statements here on her most recent appearance in court. Let's listen.
Counts 1, 3, and 5, campaign finance, false reports and statements intentional over 100. Counts 2, 4, and 6, forgery and uttering. Counts 7 through 11, campaign finance, except unlawful disbursements, intentional over $100.
And just quickly, as this gets started here for you, we are going to leave this feed up for you while I change things over. It's just about 1:30, time for the handoff. Ben Handelman takes over the live desk for me after this, but we're going to leave this feed up for you so you can watch the proceedings with Aisha Carr and her attorney making her most recent appearance in court. Thanks for watching. Ben will be with you on the other side of this appearance in court.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon. Ms. Carr appears in person out of custody and by counsel Dan Adams. Good afternoon, Your Honor. Good afternoon. Attorney Adams, have you gone over the criminal complaint with Ms. Carr? Yes. Are you waiving the reading? Yes. Is the address correct? Yes. Ms. Carr, I've read the criminal complaint. I do find probable cause. In counts 1, 3, and 5, identical charges. You're charged with campaign finance, intentionally file false report or statement. These are all Class I felonies. You may be fined not more than $10,000 or in prison not more than 3 years and 6 months or both. In counts 2, 4, and 6, all identical charges, you're charged with forgery uttering. These are all Class H felonies. You may be fined not more than $10,000 or in prison not more than 6 years or both. In count 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, all identical charges, you're charged with campaign finance, intentionally accept unlawful disbursements. These are all Class I felonies. You may be fined not more than $10,000 or in prison not more than 3 years and 6 months or both. Do you understand the maximum penalties and charges you face today?
Yes.
You have an attorney, Attorney Adams. He's here to represent your interests. You also have a right to a preliminary hearing. One will be scheduled shortly. State as to bail.
$5,000 signature bond, Commissioner, and I'd ask that she be booked within the next week.
Thank you. Any objections? No. Court is going to order a $5,000 signature bond. The conditions are to commit no new crimes, Ms. Carr. You also need to be booked. You have to be booked between today at 5 p.m. and next week, the 21st, between 5 p.m. You have 72 hours to have your fingerprint, address, and photograph taken, and you will be released. If you fail to show up at that time, they'll issue a warrant for your arrest. Do you understand that, Ms. Carr?
I'm sorry, you said 72 hours?
It's 72 hours from today at 5 p.m. until next week, the 21st. Okay. It's open 24 hours a day. 24 hours a day. Please stand by.
Any off groups or shifts?
I just asked for an afternoon prelim, please.
We can do the May 28th or 29th at 1:30.
The 29th.
Once, you know, you would think I would have my calendar open. Looking right now, I'm sorry. 29th at 1:30. It's perfect. Thank you so much.
Next court date will be May 29th at 1:30 for preliminary hearing in prelim court. You can step over by the deputy.
Thanks, Carl. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
You too, thank you.
Ben Edelman here from the Wisconsin Live Desk, taking over for Carl Deffenbaugh as we go into another exciting hour here on the Live Desk. You are looking live. That is a former MPS school board member, Aisha Carr, right there, smiling as she has to go now and sign court documents. New charges. She's been in all sorts of legal trouble since she resigned from the MPS board abruptly. Now she's charged with basically using her account, her school board fund as a slush fund and using it for personal reasons. So Aisha Carr, we lost the feed there, but in all sorts of legal trouble as she, once again, she has to book herself back into the jail to signature bond. So all she just has to do is sign some paperwork, but she's got to take the mug shot. She's got to do the fingerprints once again, facing charges of forgery and misuse of her campaign funds from when she was a school board member. All right, it's been busy here today on the Live Desk. I want to get out to Mayville because my colleague, Bill Miston's been out there today, and he's joining us live, checking out the damage. It's been actually a very busy day with officials actually showing up. Bill, thanks for joining us here on the Live Desk, and I can see you got some trees down around you. How's it look out there in Mayville?
Well, not good, Ben, especially if you are someone who lives here in Mayville. There's a lot of work that is ahead. We're here on Main Street, just up from downtown here in Mayville, where a lot of cleanup work is underway. And just to give you an idea of how powerful these storms were that ripped through town, I'm standing next to a garage door. This garage door, obviously, is separated from its garage. That garage across the street where the roof is off. Folded in half. And then as we pan down Main Street here, you can see that there's damage to homes from trees that had fallen. There's actually a lot of work being done right now to try and cut up and remove a tree that had fallen on a home, taking off the top roof of the porch and falling on the roof of that building there. And then people piling up the debris that they've been able to remove from their property here alongside the street here in Main Street. But it kind of the path of this storm that ripped through town, you can see that path. It starts to the southwest, and there's a lot of work on this hillside here just off of Main Street, and then there's some work being done up there where they're chewing up some trees. And then if we come back down and take a look back across the river, you can see that it went from the southwest there and then followed a path to the northeast across the river, and there's some homes there, some really big trees. You can see those root balls that have been ripped up out of the ground, and some people, just to give you a reference size, those are people standing next to those root balls and those trees. And we spoke with people who live up that hillside over there. One woman who's lived in the house there since the 1970s, her parents bought the house from her grandparents who lived there even longer, since 1940. Her father planted a stand of trees up there. So a bunch of hardwood trees, maple trees that were up there, all taken down, snapped. Thankfully, the people I spoke to up there with their homes, They are okay, minor damage to their homes, but obviously a lot of people here in Mayville cleaning up. A lot of people did have a lot of damage to their homes. So that is going on right now. We also know that the Red Cross has set up a shelter at the junior senior high school. School is closed for the day and AP testing has been postponed. They were supposed to be doing graduation rehearsal today. That's been postponed, but as far as we know, the graduation is still set for Sunday at the football field. So lots of hiccups caused by this storm, but right now there's a Red Cross shelter at the school in case people need a place to rest, if they need to charge their phones, if they need some food, some water, or even just some mental health help. The Red Cross has people there at the school ready and willing to provide any help that people need. We've also seen contractors and neighbors helping people here in the city of Mayville today. The mayor has asked that if people want to help volunteer with the cleanup, to go to City Hall, put their name down, as well as contractors to put their businesses down. And that way the city can help better direct those volunteers or better direct those contractors to where that help might be needed. Priority right now is taking care of the things that are of utmost importance, like getting trees off of homes, clearing roadways. There are still down power lines and transformers that have shut down roads. There's some parts of Mayville that are closed off to public access. Only contractors, police, fire, that type of thing are allowed into those neighborhoods right now. So a lot of work still needs to be done. And looking ahead to the cost of this and how much help might be needed. Well, Dodge County emergency management officials have been here on scene surveying the damage, as well as Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers. He was here surveying the damage as well as checking out that shelter at the junior senior high school. I spoke with Governor Evers briefly today. I asked about whether there would be an emergency declaration, and that would help open up funds from the state to help reimburse the city for any costs that they might have, or as well as federal dollars that would open up. He said that he's not declaring an emergency yet, but it's definitely something that they're looking at. As it's still so early, Ben. We're really nearly just 24 hours since those storms started firing in the southwest and western parts of the state and started coming through. So there's still a lot of work to be done ahead.
And just seeing the pile behind you, it shows how strong that community is in Mayville. Because, I mean, basically, since this thing has come through, people have been picking up their chainsaws, they've been using manpower, getting stuff out of the way. And Bill, I just want to, I mean, for people who haven't been to Mayville, there is a lot of farmland all around there in Dodge County. But Mayville looks like this thing went right, I mean, you're on Main Street, and that is downtown right behind you. This thing went right through town.
Yeah, and I spoke to the mayor, and the mayor said that, you know, all things said and done, the path that this storm came through probably took the best path that it could, considering that while there is damage, and, you know, some places did suffer some very serious damage, especially a house that we went out to in a town just west of Mayville called Westtown. A house out there essentially virtually destroyed. But the mayor says here in Mayville, thankfully, that this storm's path took possibly the best route that it could. And while there is a lot of damage, there were really only a few minor injuries, and that people heeded those warnings and they did take shelter. Even people that I did speak to who said that they were kind of in awe and watching this storm as it came in, but realized that this was not any normal storm. One man I spoke with who lives on the other side of the river, he said that once him and his wife were in the basement, the wind was so strong, the door is on the incline of the hill, right? So water is being blown in uphill, he said, underneath that doorway. To give you an idea of how strong those winds were, as water was coming into their basement, the door was shut, and he's uphill and water is coming in. So that's how strong these storms were, and really what people were just kind of in awe of the power of these storms as they were rolling in.
Yeah,
but really, once it came through, he said people were immediately out checking on their neighbors and really starting to assess the cleanup process, cutting down trees that were blocking roadways to allow vehicles to get in and get out, and really more help to get in from other neighbors who were checking on each other.
And we're so fortunate. I know the sheriff said just one person went to the hospital, all minor injuries that have been reported so far. Bill, what made this storm so dangerous, and we don't have a lot of video of the actual tornado that went through there. This thing was rain wrapped when it came through, which those are the most dangerous tornadoes because, I mean, you don't see them coming, but it looks like people heeded the warnings. I mean, everyone seemed to know that this storm was on its way in.
Well, yeah, I mean, we know that we were in wall-to-wall coverage on Fox 6 for several hours yesterday evening as these storms started to come into our viewing area, and Tom Laux and Stephanie Barrichello and others were doing a very good job of trying to keep our viewers updated, keep people aware of the danger that was potentially coming towards them. And because of the area in which that there was a lot of things happening, right? Those storms were coming in from the west, the southwest, and then there were also some storms and cells coming in from the south, coming up through Eagle and Palmyra into Waukesha County. So there was a large part of our viewing area that was under a severe weather threat. So obviously, as people saw those storms coming in through the western parts of the states, we know that there was a lot of strong storms north of Madison near Baraboo as well, some tornado warnings up there as well. So people definitely saw that and were able to see, because it was a fairly clear day, able to see those storms coming in.
Yeah, wow. Look, all that damage is so incredible here. I know yesterday they were asking people not to come to town. They didn't need help because they wanted to get the power restored. A lot of people were in the dark. So right now, Bill, I mean, you said it, they want people to go to City Hall. Also, scammers always tend to come in after a storm like this, and I'm sure they're worried about scammers. So they want to make sure if there are contractors, they're legit and they'll register at City Hall. So right now, have they opened up any of the roads, or are they still asking people, stay away, but if you're coming to town, come to City Hall first?
Well, it does seem that, to get in and around Mayville, you can, but there are still roadways that are closed off to traffic on both sides of the river here, where there's contractors that are doing work to cut down those large trees and get them removed. So, but really on the main thoroughfares here, Main Street and the highway that crosses the river, 28, you can get through. But yeah, definitely still some roads closed here in Mayville.
Bill Miston, reporting live from Mayville. The pictures are incredible. I mean, we got hundreds of pictures. If you go to fox6now.com or right here on the Fox Local app. And I know we look forward to your reporting coming up at 4, 5, and 6 because you've said it. You've been everywhere today, Bill. And we appreciate you spending a little bit of time with us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
All right, thanks a lot, Ben. See you later.
So that's Bill Miston reporting out in Mayville. We hope to hear from Ashley Sears. She is in Racine, where they didn't have a tornado down in Racine, but they had all sorts of damage as well. We're also looking here at more storms that could possibly pop later today. This is not going to be like yesterday, but there is still the possibility that one or two of these isolated storms could get strong. So we'll be checking in with our weather team. As you're watching the Wisconsin Live Desk, we're just
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
What up, news nerds? Man, has this been a busy week. Ben Handelman from the Wisconsin Live Desk on the show where we will bring you anything that is happening live. And I want to bring you to Georgia. Interesting case. A missing camper found alive. She was missing for 9 days. Ends up being found in a cabin with an individual. Let's listen into what the sheriff is saying happening out there in Georgia about this missing camper.
Her bike was left at a sign for the trailhead for Hopkins Lake. And so once the snow melts and we have an opportunity to get up there, we will be attempting to retrieve her bike for her, because that bike is what she said during her story is really what helped propel her on this journey and got her through the snow and kept her going. And then obviously on May 14th, when the owner of the Vermilion Valley Resort was able to get in because the road had been plowed over Kaiser, he saw a pair of shoes outside of one of his cabins at Vermilion Valley Resort that he leaves open, which is at Edison Lake. And lo and behold, he observed Tiffany there, alive, battered, bruised, obviously dehydrated, but she was, in fact, remarkably and really, truly probably a miracle that she was alive. And then we were able to respond. And to my left today, we have Tiffany here. She's wearing sunglasses after being out in the snow for that long and the extreme sun. It did some possible damage to her eyes, so that's why she's here wearing sunglasses. She's going to get up and talk in a minute, and she's going to tell you about her story of perseverance, of determination, of not giving up, and just continuing the fight, and just having that belief that she was going to be found or be rescued. And eventually that day came, thankfully, when the road was plowed and the owner of Vermilion Valley Resort came and saw Tiffany there at the resort. So at this point, I will go ahead and have Tiffany come up, and she will share a little bit of her story as well.
Hello. I didn't really come up with anything that's super planned for this. It's literally only been 2 days, but I will do my best to answer any questions that you may have. When I started, I had pretty much fallen off of a cliff trying to go on vacation for the first time. I may never do a real vacation longer than 3 days ever again. When I fell off of this cliff, I was unconscious for about 2 hours and did indeed have to splint one of my legs and pop the other knee back into place. From there, I couldn't actually get back onto the road. The main road was blocked because of the avalanche that I had been in, and of course, like a normal person, the first thing you're supposed to do is call 911, and I attempted that 4 or 5 times with no avail, and eventually got mad at my GPS and decided to ask, well, where's the nearest Starbucks? He's like, oh, well, we can answer that question. It's 18 miles from here. You can't give me 911, you can't get me GPS, but you can get me a Starbucks? Yes, we can. It's also a shorter distance than trying to find the entrance. And in doing so, I ended up on this very long, arduous journey that I journaled to try and keep sane. And eventually managed to get to civilization. I haven't really gone through all of the details. I ran out of a lot of food after 5 days. But I will do my best to answer any questions that you may have.
Well, what did you eat? I mean, you were in the elements for how many days, and what did you eat, and did you ever at any point think, I'm not going to make it?
Well, the worst thing that you can do in an emergency situation is panic. I'm a traveling dialysis technician and an archery coach by trade. I didn't want to panic. In the first 5 days, I was still ready for my vacation. I had some of Fresno's best citrus, which was funny because I'm kind of allergic to it at that point, but I did have food to begin with. But I'm a trained permaculturalist. That means I'm very good at foraging and helping people not go to the grocery store in very rural areas. And the Sierras has a large selection of leeks that is hard to find in other places. In case you don't know what that is, it's sort of a green onion, and I managed to survive off of these leeks and boiling the snow melt for a very long period of time, actually. And I journaled it. I think I've been out maybe 20, 23 days on this.
Ben Handelman from the Wisconsin Live Desk. This is a wild story. Okay, this woman from Georgia says she's taking her first vacation ever out in the mountains of California when she fell off a cliff, hurt her knee, couldn't get a hold of 911, asked her phone where the nearest Starbucks is out of frustration, ends up at some guy's cabin. She's missing for 9 days. She's saying she's surviving off leaks in the woods. So this is going to make all sorts of headlines today. This is a wild story out of California. So we'll keep following that one. Let's bring it closer to home because I want to talk about some of our storm damage here. And I want to bring in my lovely wife, Ashley Sears, who's out in Racine. No tornadoes there, Ash, but all sorts of damage. Let's talk about what you are seeing in Racine because that's a nice little tree you've got next to you.
Yeah, we are actually at the Racine Zoo where strong winds came through here and they tore down some fences and trees. This is one of about 10 trees of this size here that are down throughout the zoo. Luckily, no animals were hurt here. Now, the zoo is closed today because of all this damage. This morning, volunteers came in here. They helped to gather some branches. They put them on the side here. They'll be collected later today and tomorrow as this cleanup continues. The zoo executive director says there is an estimated $50,000 to $100,000 worth of damage here. And there's actually supposed to be a Bloody Mary festival event happening here tomorrow. There was a tent on the property that was taken out, a $40,000 tent. We're told the Bloody Mary festival still will continue, but that tent will not be a part of it. And we kind of got a look around the area here today in Mount Pleasant. We saw some downed power lines. And just north of the zoo here, we saw several trees down, some uprooted, others were flown on homes, on roofs, and others snapped in the middle of the street. The weather experts told me today, Stephanie Barrichello said this is all caused by 60-mile-per-hour straight line winds. But everyone we spoke to today was in good spirits. They're all just grateful that no one was hurt. This is all damage that could be cleaned up.
Sounds like they could all use a Bloody Mary.
Exactly, yeah. I could.
The Racine Zoo's a pretty big property down there, and obviously if they've closed it, I mean, they must be seeing widespread damage kind of all throughout the property, or is it contained to one spot?
No, it's all throughout the property, and they said it's just not safe today. They've got tree people out here, you know, cutting up trees and stuff. There were supposed to be 600 kids here on field trips today. They said on a normal Friday, especially a beautiful day like this, they'd have about 1,000 people here, and they just didn't feel like it'd be safe for them to be wandering the property. On the other end of the property, there's a walkabout creek, I think they call it, where some like emus wander and stuff. There's trees just like this that are down, and they had to set up some fencing in that area. But they said they'll be back open tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. And you might see some cleanup continuing through Tuesday, but they think that they can handle it through the weekend. And today they're really taking it by the horns to make sure that the property gets all cleaned up.
Was that a zoo reference, taking it by the horns? Did you mean to do that?
Yeah. Of course.
I'm worried about the animals. How are they treating this? Have you seen them acting like normal animals? I know you're a zoo expert.
Yeah, well, it is wild here. So we're told that when the storms came through, they go to their bedrooms, is what we're told, kind of some of these enclosures. And so none of them were out and about at the time, and none of them were hurt. Today, we haven't seen very many of them out here. I saw some goats. I heard some animals, but I haven't really seen any of them. I think you could hear the loud noise.
Yeah, what is
so
that?
what they're doing is they're going to be they're collecting some branches here. The executive director says they're actually going to be mulching it, right?
Ooh, look
and
at
then
that
they're going
claw.
to be using the mulch throughout the property. So there are some benefits to this. And then she said some of these branches here with the leaves still on them, they're going to be given to the animals, and they like to munch on it and eat it. So this is all being reused and very eco-conscious out here. So that's the good news throughout all this.
I wonder if they can stop by our house, Ash, and like drop some of this extra mulch off, because I actually have not got mulch for our yard yet, and there's all sorts of it going on there.
Isn't that extremely satisfying to watch those branches go in and come out as mulch? Let's just take a moment to appreciate the making of mulch here on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
You know, at NASCAR, they're like, let's take it to 11, and you're supposed to turn your volume up. Let's point the camera over at the claw right now, and I'm going to turn your volume up to max. Here we go. You're watching live tree cleanup on Wild. We're going to 11 right now. That is the dumbest thing I will do in this next hour. Okay, we only have half an hour left here on Wild.
And Ben, I always have this like reporter like desire to just walk around tree branches. You know, in live shots, you see like
I know that about you.
We're here, so I just want to wander around in this tree here. I feel like I didn't get a good opportunity to just show you how large this branch is. So this branch here, I'm going to have Mike pan up to this part. This is where it fell from. So it snapped off of here.
Wow.
Fell down, and then walk with me here.
Let's do it.
If I don't fall. Check out how big this is now. So then this came all the way over here.
I would say that's like
not it.
20
That's
Ashley Searses in length.
I don't know. I think it might be more. But then you look up at this tree right next to it, and that also has some branches down. So these trees are pretty old. I'm no tree expert. I'm not going to count the rings on this. I remember Bill Miston once did that live on TV. But,
1, 2, 3.
I'm going to guess they're 100 years old. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
We're on digital. We can say whatever we want. Yeah, that's a 100-year-old tree for sure. Looks like it. In a serious note, nobody was injured down there in Racine, right?
No one was injured, no animals, no people. They said the zoo was actually closed at the time. So there was a night keeper here and then some other staff that feeds the animals. But luckily, no one was here. They all came back last night to assess the damage and get a look at the cleanup that has to happen today. And they said all in all, they're actually really thankful that it wasn't worse. It didn't damage the enclosures. It didn't damage, anything that can't be replaced and fixed easily.
They're moving a picnic table behind you, and for a second I thought they were going to bring that picnic table, other side of you. I thought they were going to bring that picnic table over and grind it up for some reason. Because once you've got the grinder out at the zoo, it's like, what else can we put in here? Nope, back in place.
I know. I think we might just compromise our story for today and just sit here and watch mulch in the making.
No one would blame you, and
better
honestly,
than watching paint dry.
If we just, forget the journalism that you're doing today, just stop what you're doing, point the camera at that at 4, 5, and 6 for your live reports, and we'll take that.
And I have to say, Mike and I are tempted to wander where we're told a baby zebra was recently born here. So it's 3 weeks old. So there's also some exciting news on the zebra front here at the Racine
Who knew?
Zoo.
And you're pretending to work today. You're at the zoo. It's a good, and they have damage, but they can't stop the Bloody Mary Festival going on there. So grab a Bloody, watch the mulch, check out the baby zebra, and we'll see you tonight, 4, 5, and 6. Thanks for joining Wild, Ash, from the zoo. Appreciate it.
In the most wild location.
Exactly. Love it. Well, that's a first. I've never, brought the volume to 11 so we could all enjoy some mulch noises here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. There was a great story of a pizza place in Racine. The power went out yesterday, and they had a dining room full of people. And guess what? Nobody left, despite the fact that there was no electricity and it was starting to get hot. It was a gas oven, so they could get the pizza, and they all just sat there and ate their pizza. And then they went out to their cars. There's all sorts of hail damage in Racine from these strong storms. But okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to go back to the most fascinating press conference we've had today, as this Georgia woman went missing in the California mountains and has come out alive and is answering all sorts of crazy questions. So stay with
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Ben Ailman from the Wisconsin Live Desk here. We've got all the storm damage that's been cleaning up, and our crews have been surveying the damage. Good stuff from Bill and Ashley here in the show. But I got to bring you out to this wacky press conference out in California. Good news, a woman was camping. She's from Georgia, says she took her first vacation ever to Fresno, California, decided to go camping in the mountains, fell, was missing. She's been found safe. I think this is her parents. Let's listen in.
That knew their daughter was missing in a mountain or wherever she was, you would love to have them back. And that, it broke my heart, but it was the most joyous thing that I could ever have experienced. Yeah.
What was it like to see your daughter when you arrived at her?
Oh my God, I had so many ideas. Jumping her and holding her, you want to just do all those things. But because the moment was hers and she was going through some things herself, we didn't have that moment, but just to hold her. She wanted to hold us. She wanted to hold her mom and dad, and I took it in, and I'm just glad to see her, to know that she's alive, and to smell her,
Was she in the hospital when you saw her? Or was she
No, she was somewhere else, and we had placed her in a hotel just to keep her safe. She was out of the hospital at the time, but
You must be so proud of her.
I am very proud. I mean, as a parent, we always say, we have adult kids. We can't control them. They can do whatever they want to do. But I'm very proud that she stood her own. I'm proud that she's back. But I will be prouder when she gets a GPS. So that'll be much better. We were talking about Garmin's and different other things, but I wouldn't be much. She could do whatever she wants to do, but just get some kind of GPS, and then we can talk every day.
We don't keep our kids locked down. This is not a time for us to lock her back in twigs. We'd love to have her back home when she's home, but her adventure is far from over.
And so what's happening next? I know she was headed to medical school. Is that correct?
That's completely up to her. We have no idea. We are standing back. We're like you guys. What you gonna do next? But whatever she decides to do, we will be next to her 100%.
So y'all are going to head back to Georgia and just have some family time.
Most certainly. We will definitely be going back to Georgia, to our little town that we enjoy so much, Swakes County.
All three of you going back?
Oh yes. Even if I have to tie her down, she's coming back home and I say that jokingly, but it's so that she has time to recuperate, so that she can go back out and do another type of adventure.
With GPS.
With GPS.
Yes.
What's this experience done for you guys and your belief for God?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. As far as God, we've always been people who believe in God. That's not going to change. Community, I could tell you, the community here and around the world, so many people got in contact with us, checking on us, just loving on us. And I just totally appreciate every single person who reached out to us. I love people. I don't care, and I've said it so many times, I don't care where you're from, what you look like. I don't care you're religious or not. People, there are good people everywhere. And for whatever reason, and I'm going to say God, but he always connects us to good people. And so I'm going to take it. I'm glad that he gives it to us. Up days, down days, bad days, good days. We're going to all go through it. Every single one of us are going to go through a bad day. But that doesn't mean that there's not a ray of sunshine somewhere. And everybody in the community around the world showed us the ray of sunshine when I couldn't see it at all. So I definitely want to thank them for that. And I thank you for the prayers. And I'm just so grateful, and I'm so thank you. And the police department and everybody that helped. We were here, and I'm crying earlier. I love every single one of these people that were out there. I'm helping to find Tiffany, and some here even doing it on their days off, overtime. This is just the best community of people that I have ever met, and I just want to say I'm grateful, and thank you, God, for everything.
Ben Haleman from the Wisconsin Live Desk. Okay, this is going to make all sorts of national headlines today. This is Fresno, California. That's Tiffany Slayton in the back on the right. She's a character. I think she's going to get a reality show out of this because she goes missing on April 27th. She just moments ago, she's a character. So she gets up, she just says what happened. She goes out on her first vacation ever in her life out to Fresno, California. She decides to go camping in the mountains in the middle of the snow. She says there's kind of an avalanche. She falls. She dislocates her knee, I believe, pops it back into place, tries to use her phone to call for help. It's not working, but somehow she asks her phone to look for a Starbucks out of frustration, and it sends her on this path towards where she eventually found some cabins that were unoccupied, as it's not in the middle of summer. And then the owner of the cabins eventually finds some shoes out there, and law enforcement finds her alive and well, just dehydrated. She's wearing sunglasses. She may have damage from the snow because she was out in it for so long. And she says she's got foraging skills, despite never taking a vacation, and was eating some of the things out in the woods. So that's her family talking out in Fresno, California. Again, I think there's going to be more to come with this story. That is some wild stuff. All right, let's bring it back here locally. I want to bring out to Brett Lemoyne. Joining us out in Pewaukee, we had a bus driver getting all sorts of trouble. Brett, what is going on? We had someone arrested, and we're learning new details about what happened out there in Pewaukee.
Yeah, it's a very disturbing case, Ben. The accused is Thomas Felser. He's a 62-year-old man from Sussex. He's charged today. We just got out of court about 5 minutes ago, so forgive me, I have to review my notes here. Charged with repeated sexual assault of a child and 3 counts of sexual misconduct by a school staff or volunteer. The victim's mother says on Tuesday she was tracking her daughter's bus from the Pewaukee School District and realized it hadn't moved for about 10 minutes. So the mom actually went to the location where it was on the map to see what was going on. She looked inside the bus and didn't see anyone there. She thought that was very odd. She started calling her 6-year-old daughter's name, and then up popped the head of Mr. Felser, according to investigators. And then also the mother found that her daughter was on the bus. The mother said that the bus had not moved for about 10 minutes before all of this had happened, and the mother said that the 6-year-old later told police that Felser made her sit on his lap and put his hands down her pants. Police ultimately reviewed surveillance video of this particular incident, and they noted that Felser would position himself on the bus with this girl in a row of seats that was obscured by the surveillance cameras that are on this bus. Police also said that Felser would give this girl candy. Police said that the video showed at least 3 other incidents of this type of behavior happening with this same girl. The victim's mother said that the girl's demeanor had really changed over the last couple of weeks, going from a young, caring girl in class, very bright and helping other students, to someone who was having night terrors and was always wanting to be around her parents. Investigators say Felser started driving this bus route last fall. Additionally, police say Felser worked as a teacher in the Pewaukee School District for over 30 years. He worked in both the high school and middle school levels. Additionally, he was a summer school teacher and an independent tutor. So this is someone who obviously had, according to police, access and numerous contacts with minors. I did reach out to Village of Pewaukee police who are investigating this case. The case remains open. The chief told me that they are not aware of any other victims at this time, but they are encouraging anyone with additional information to come forward to police. Felser, meanwhile, worked for Go Right Way. That was his employer. Allegedly still is his employer. As of yesterday, we were told that he was on a leave of absence from Go Right Way. However, the school district said he is not going to be driving any buses for them, full stop. Cash bond is set at $350,000, Ben, and Felser is ordered to have no contact with any minors.
That is so disturbing. Again, the age of the child on that bus?
Yeah, very, very disturbing, very shocking. And as the victim's mother, she did speak in court today. She asked that we not use her voice, and we will be respecting that. Obviously, this is a very sensitive case because of the age of the victim here, and we don't want to do anything to identify them. But the victim's mom pointed out to the court commissioner today, Ben, that this was happening also in broad daylight,
right, on
a school bus in the middle of a neighborhood. And again, according to investigators, this was not the first time that this had happened, that this was had been going on for quite some time. In fact, the court commissioner went as far as to say that the state has a pretty open and shut case here, in his words, because of that surveillance video. One interesting thing to note, Ben, you're probably wondering why the surveillance video wasn't reviewed prior to this, and apparently, according to Go Right Way, who was interviewed, and the school district, who was interviewed by police in the charging document here, he would never write up any students who were acting up on the bus. So in other words, he allegedly never gave the bus company any reason to go back and look at any of the footage on the bus. So bus company assuming, right, that everything's going fine on his bus, when in fact, obviously, there were some terrible things that prosecutors say were taking place.
What's so disturbing about this is not just some guy who just became a bus driver. The fact that he had been a long-time teacher, more than 30 years, makes you think this is a well-known guy. People know him as a teacher. You got to be thinking there's got to be conversations happening. Was he a teacher in Pewaukee too?
Yes, teacher for the Pewaukee School District at the high school and middle school level. So we did reach out to them. We got a statement from them yesterday The district did send a letter home to parents this week as well. But as of yesterday, they said that there wasn't much that they could say beyond their initial statement, which was, of equally of shock. We did reach out also today to see if there's any additional statement that they could provide now that we know, Ben, that according to prosecutors, this man was, pretty well ingrained in the community with teaching and tutoring.
And what a brave act by the parent. I mean, you got to think, you got to be on your kids, right? But you think they're safe on the bus. But even this parent, according to the allegations, what we've read, and we heard from that parent in court, they knew something wasn't right. So they wanted to track down their kid, and that's how this all allegedly was uncovered. Really shocking details, Brett. I don't know if I've heard a case like this.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's very, very disturbing. And Ben, even one of the girl's teachers reached out to the parents a couple of weeks ago and said, the 6-year-old just is not acting right. And the parents did everything that they could. They brought the girl to the doctor, a psychologist, I believe, is what was said during her statement. And they were really trying to figure out what was taking place. And it wasn't until that mom found that bus and, brought this to Village of Pewaukee Police's attention that things were finally uncovered.
A school bus driver charged with sexual assault of a 6-year-old on a bus in Pewaukee. The court appearance, we'll put it right here on the Fox local app, so you'll be able to watch that. And I know we'll have your full reports, including the shocking details and that court appearance coming up in a couple of hours here on Fox 6 News at 4, 5, and 6. Brett, appreciate that.
Thanks, Ben.
So that's Brett Lemoyne. Really disturbing details out there in Pewaukee. That is just shocking because we knew that a bus driver had been arrested. We didn't know the details, and wow, that is some shocking stuff coming from Brett Lemoyne today. Hey, before we take a quick break, I want to bring you back to this kind of wacky press conference out in California with this woman who I think is going to get a reality TV show out of this. She was missing in California for days. She's been found safe. Let's listen in.
I do. I haven't gone through it yet because I have to figure out how to open doors first.
Tiffany, do you think you restoring a blue, writing a blue about you restoring to follow another one?
I don't know. I may think about that.
Christopher mentioned that the first thing you asked for was peanut butter jelly sandwiches. Talk a little bit about that. I'm allergic to peanut butter, but I can only imagine you craving that.
So when you're hiking in general, the first thing that all of the professionals tell you is that you want to make sure to keep a lot of carbs and a lot of proteins. There's a couple of different, I am a nutritionist, but there's a couple of different ways that you are able to power your body for a long period of time. The one thing that I was unable to purchase when I started was a loaf of bread. So the entire time that I was going, I kept trying to figure out what can I forage to make carbs. And at the end, all I wanted was a sandwich. Now that I've had leeks in water for such a long time, it's almost like I've never had food before. So when I got to Vermilion Resort and Raven and the guys gave me some of what they had brought, I had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and it was the best PB&J I've ever had.
And you mentioned you wanted to go to Mono Hot Springs. How was your experience? I know it's probably not what you pictured.
I actually missed it. The avalanche happened before I got a chance to even see it, so I'm hoping that eventually I'll get a chance to come and see it. A, with a GPS, yeah. And B, probably with a car, so that I don't have to have so many issues.
That's Tiffany Slayton, a missing hiker found alive. She's from Georgia, went to Fresno County, California. An avalanche happened. She survives it, was injured. She says she popped, I think, her knee back in place. Eventually found this empty camp, was staying there, and was eventually found alive and safe. Says she was foraging out in the woods, drinking water, was in the snow. Her eyes are damaged. That's why she's wearing sunglasses. Wild case from California. What will happen next? Who knows? Stay with us here on
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Ben Edelman from the Wisconsin Live Desk. This has been a really wild past 45 minutes here on the Live Desk. We had the tornado, maybe more than one, yesterday. We're surveying the damage up there in Dodge County. We heard from Bill Miston, who's in Mayville. All sorts of damage there. Straight line winds causing damage really all over southeast Wisconsin. We talked to Ashley Sears. She's down at the Racine Zoo. Damage all over the property, but breaking news from Ashley. The Bloody Mary Festival will go on as planned tomorrow. You can damage the zoo, but you cannot stop the Bloody Mary Festival at the zoo. So that's happening. And we got some new storms popping today. This is a live picture now. Oh, boy. Right over Dodge County again. That's tough. Let's bring in, and I'm sorry, I've got the wrong, well, here. I'm just going to take you full here, Steph.
That's
fine. Whoa.
Surprise.
Whoa.
Hello.
I don't even know what I did, but I hit a button and here you are. We got storms in Dodge County again. What's going on?
We do, and so we've kind of been just waiting, just like yesterday, for these storms to pop. This is all we have here locally, but we do have the chance really from here until about 8 o'clock tonight for a few of these more isolated thunderstorms. And now this is not strong or severe, the one heading into Dodge County, but it does have lightning with it and some heavy rainfall. So all the crews who are out and about cleaning up right now. I mean, obviously it's not quite to Juneau or Mayville just yet, but as it continues to track northeast, it is going to impact those same areas. And we have the chance to see more in the way of scattered pop-up thunderstorms throughout the rest of the afternoon. Let me zoom out just real quick for you too, because look up towards the north. So this is not severe here locally, but there are actually 2 severe thunderstorms up towards the north, one not too far from Green Bay. Can't rule out a few severe thunderstorms even in southeast Wisconsin throughout the remainder of the evening. I do not expect these to be as intense as yesterday or as widespread as yesterday. They're likely going to be these hit or miss storms. Some spots may stay completely dry all throughout the rest of the day today. But again, it is worth mentioning that we still have the chance to see some strong damaging wind and the possibility for hail again. Once again, not like yesterday, but still at least a low threat for that here.
I was trying to find some cameras that are pointed west. I do have this one pointed east. We do have the rain showers that are over Lake Michigan right now. And the clouds, I mean, you said it, this is going to be hit or miss today.
It is going to be hit or miss today. So, it's a Friday evening, so that does make it tricky. Don't cancel your plans, but if you are planning on being outside, I'm sure there are many trying to get to a beer garden with some of the warmth we have right now. Just make sure you have a way to receive alerts. Again, we're on Fox Local right now. We talked about this yesterday. Having Fox Local is such a great tool. If you are going to be away from your home and outside, know that through 8 o'clock we have the chance for some of these pop-up storms, and they may pop quickly too, and they could strengthen enough to become severe with some of that gusty wind. Right now, it's really just that one cell out towards the west in Dodge County, but we're seeing another one just south of the Illinois state line too. So we could just continue in the next couple of hours to see these very isolated pop-ups develop in one area, move towards the northeast, and then be out of the area. So a busy evening to say the very least with the fact that it's Friday. Just make sure you're weather aware throughout the rest of the day today. And then, Ben, the weekend looks pretty good. It does look a little cooler.
But sunshine.
Most of next week looks cooler too, which is hard to talk about, but after today, we'll have at least a dry break over the weekend.
All right, sounds good. Steph, I don't know how to bring boxes up with that graphic, so I want to show everyone what it looks like behind the scenes for you. Look at that.
Green screen.
That is what Stephanie's looking at, okay?
It's just a piece of cloth.
Yeah,
too.
you think she's looking at this, but she's actually looking at this.
Just a cloth.
Who knew?
Amazing, right?
Okay.
Magic.
Magic on the wild. Wisconsin Live.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Ben Handelman, we nicknamed this show Wild. It's been wild today. We had a tornado up in Dodge County yesterday. We've been dealing with more storms this afternoon. They're just starting to pop. There's a live picture of the radar. Just heard from Stephanie Barrichello. Unfortunately, look at that one cell is right in Dodge County. It's not severe, but there's so much cleanup happening right now. That's going to impact all the workers that are out there in Dodge County. So much cleanup is happening in Mayville and in Juneau. One thing I'm watching at this hour is we're in our last minute here. Traffic's not looking so hot as we continue to watch this Friday evening commute. So just know that as this camera's been bouncing around. Not too bad at 76th Street. Other areas, it is just like stop and go. So that's over coming from downtown. The traffic's coming north and south at you. So anyway, been a busy day on the live desk. Live picture here from Madison as we continue to wait and see if these storms will pop. Just be weather aware and just know here on your Fox local app, if anything does turn severe, we're going to jump in. You'll be the first to know about it. So that's what's happening here on the live desk. We're going to go to Fox Weather after this, so you get kind of a national picture about what's happening as well. But man, what a packed hour we just had on the live desk, did we not? And we also got one of the wackiest press conferences